بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وعباد الرحمن الذين يمشون على الأرض هونا.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله الذي هدى، والصلاة والسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى، خصوصا على سيد الرسل وخاتم الأنبياء وعلى آله وأصحابه الذين اجتبى. أما بعد، فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. من المؤمنين رجال صدقوا ما عاهدوا الله عليه، فمنهم من قضى نحبه ومنهم من ينتظر وما بدلوا تبديلا، ليجزي الله الصادقين بصدقهم ويعذب المنافقين إن شاء أو يتوب عليهم، إن الله كان غفورا رحيما. صدق الله العظيم. Today, inshallah, we'll be talking about a great Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who is a great example for all the youth and an example, a perfect example for every person who is thinking or involved in doing the work of da'wah, inviting people to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We know when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam immigrated to Medina Munawwara, majority of the people of Medina were Muslims. But did we ever ask ourselves this question, how did they become Muslim? Of course, hidayah is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses people as a means to guidance for others. In this world, in this life, we all are just like tools. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would just pick us up to get something done, if He would use us as the tool of getting something done, it will be our pleasure. It will be our a great blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over us. It will be Allah's pleasure for us that He have chosen us for getting that thing done, the work of deen, the work of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being done through us. Otherwise, there are millions of people in the world. And there is so much work that's being done. And most of the time, we don't even know how the work was done. The people who did it, they are sitting quietly and doing it. It's only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who's rewarding them for their work. So, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would use us, it will be just Allah's pleasure and Allah's blessing over us. So this Sahabi that we're talking about, he did such a work of da'wah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam chose him to go to Medina Munawwara and invite people to Islam. And as I said, As Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam arrived in Medina Munawwara, majority of the people of Medina were Muslims. It was the work of this Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, who used such a method of inviting people to Islam that people had no choice but to accept it. Those who came to oppose him, they also could not leave the place without taking the Shahada. And at the same time, we need to remember, he was not a Sahabi who didn't have no status before Islam. He was one of the young people of Makkah Mukarramah at his time, who was known for being a very handsome and from a very wealthy family, who would spend most of his time just trying to look nice. It was known in Makkah Mukarramah that the person who dresses the most expensive dress in Makkah is the Sahabi who is Mus'ab bin Umair radiyallahu anhu. And if he would he would go through a street, hours later, people would know that Mus'ab have gone through this street because of the fragrance that will still be remaining in that street from his perfume. He was known for these things in Makkah Mukarramah. And everyone knew that no one can buy the perfume and apply the perfume every day that Mus'ab uses. No one can keep on dressing the type of dress that Mus'ab dresses every day. And one day he heard that here we have a person who's inviting people to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remember, people have qualities in them. When you see a person who has this quality of staying clean, applying the perfume, looking nice, it's a good quality. But maybe misused because of not knowing the right use of the quality. Now he goes to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam to hear the message of Islam, just to know what is he talking about, what the message is all about. Of course, a person who is clean in his nature, like cleanliness, as soon as he saw Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he heard the ayahs of Al-Qur'an Al-Kareem, he heard the message from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam that was so pure, he could not leave the house, Darul Arqam, without saying, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasul. But now, when he thought about it, he could take anything in his life except the displeasure of his mother. And she was the type of woman who was known to be very powerful. She had a good control over the whole house. He knew that I can be beaten up by the leaders of Quraysh. I can go through a lot of torturings. I'm ready and I can take all of this. But what would I do to my mother? So he decided not to announce his Islam, just to keep it secret, until he would get a chance to quietly and nicely explain the whole situation to his mother. But of course, in those days, every Muslim was followed by the Quraysh. And someone saw him going to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and performing the salah. That person went and informed his mother. As soon as he went back to his mother, the whole situation was changed. It was upside down. That whole love turned into a hatred. And the mother asked him if he was really a Muslim And he had no choice but to say yes. Couldn't lie. And he said, yes, I'm a Muslim. She put him in a house arrest. Took everything away from him. And the demand was, you have to leave that Islam. When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam allowed Sahabah ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in to migrate to Habasha, Eritrea, Mus'ab found out and somehow he escaped from his home and he went to Habasha. I don't want to go into any details of his situation in Habasha. When he came back, after some time, he came back to Makkah Mukarramah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was sitting with a group of Sahabah ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in. He looked at him and started weeping. He said, look at Mus'ab. Only some time back, we used to see Mus'ab in the most expensive dress in Makkah Mukarramah. And now he doesn't even have a single sheet to cover his satr properly. Just one sheet that he was covering himself with had so many patches on it that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam could not stop crying when he saw the situation of Mus'ab radiyallahu anhu. But it was Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's witness for him that this person loves Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam so much that he sacrificed all of that for the sake of Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It's not easy to go from that end to this end, from being the wealthiest. And we all know, after using these blessings, after using this worldly gain, after getting used to these expensive things, it's even difficult to use the cheaper ones, not to talk about not having them at all. Many of us, and I'm talking about all of us, sometimes we see a car on the highway, we see a car on the road, and we all are sure I would never drive that car in my life. I can never drive it. I mean, this type of car, I don't know how people are driving it. It makes so much noise. Look at the rust on the car. And this type of car, I would never even touch it. And not to talk about having to take the buses, or taking then a bicycle, to ride instead of a car. But this was the situation of those Sahabah ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in, who sacrificed all of that from everything to nothing. And subhanallah, with all of the qualities that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed Mus'ab bin Umair radiyallahu anhu with the pure nature that he had, he was able to grab the message of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam very fast. And therefore Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam chose to send him to Medina Munawwara for the da'wah to Islam. When Mus'ab radiyallahu anhu went to Medina Munawwara, there were about 12 people in Medina Munawwara who were Muslims. 12 Muslims in Medina Munawwara. He worked for the deen of Allah and for the da'wah of Islam in Medina Munawwara for almost 2 years. And in those 2 years, after the 2 years when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam immigrated to Medina Munawwara, almost the whole town was Muslim. How was he preaching Islam? What was the method that he was using? We just get some idea of it from some of the hadiths. And this will be a very interesting hadith. When Mus'ab radiyallahu anhu was sitting in a house, some leaders of different tribes in Medina Munawwara, Usayd bin Hudayr and Sa'ad bin Mu'az, these were the two leaders of two different tribes of Medina Munawwara. They started discussing about him, that this person is misleading people in our town. We should force him out of our town. We cannot allow this person to be in our town. We must force him out of here. And they said, let's go and talk to him. People are really listening to him. There are a lot of people who are already following him now. We can't allow this to happen. Usayd bin Hudayr decided to go and talk to him. He went to Mus'ab bin Umair with an open arm in his hand, warning him that you better leave this town right away. We are not going to accept all of this nonsense that you are preaching. We will not allow anyone to accept and to follow this message anymore. And I'm warning you, if you want to save your life, you better leave the town. And you have to leave right away in front of my eyes. Of course, the people that were sitting around him, learning Islam from him, they were totally disturbed. But subhanallah, look at the wisdom. ادعو إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة. We can understand it from here. Mus'ab radiyallahu anhu, instead of saying anything back to him in the same manner, instead of showing his anger, he said to Usayd bin Hudayr that you are a leader of your clan. I'm sure they made you the leader of the clan because you are a very understanding person. You are an intelligent person. You have never talked to me before. You don't know what my message is all about. How about you sit with me for a few minutes? Let me tell you what I'm inviting people to. If there is anything wrong with my message, you just ask me to leave, I'll leave right away. If you don't like it, you tell me what's wrong with my message. That's all. There is nothing to fight about. There is nothing to argue about. I'm willing to leave. It's only you listen to my message. And if you don't like it, you tell me that no, these things are wrong. We don't accept these things in our town. I'll tell you that's fine. I'm leaving. But if you like it, then you may also think of accepting it. He said, I know I won't accept your message anyway, but go ahead, tell me what you're inviting people to. And he started inviting him to this pure deen of Allah. And deen is very attractive when it comes in the right way and from the right people. People who sacrificed for it. People who have practiced it. Who have tasted the real beauty of it. Who have really got it into their hearts, not only on their tongues. When they explain it, when they talk about it, it gets into people's hearts. From our tongue, it goes only to their ears and they forget it. But when it comes from people's hearts, it gets into the hearts. When it comes with the light of the deen, with all the beauty that people have experienced, others will see the beauty of it. They will see the light in it. And everyone likes the light and likes the beauty. Those whose nature is clean and pure, they like this beauty. We like beautiful things always. And we look for beautiful things. When they see the beautiful Islam, they cannot reject it. The only problem is sometimes we are not able to even tell them what beauty do we have in our deen. If a person will ask us, what's the difference between my religion and your religion? Tell me, what beauty do you have there? What good do you have in there that I don't have in my religion? We may have to think 100 times before I present something to him because I don't know the beauty of my own deen. And here Mus'ab, as he started explaining it to Usayd bin Hudayr, the only question Usayd bin Hudayr had about this message was, how would I become part of you people? How would I embrace Islam? He said, it's very easy. Go, take shower, clean yourself, and say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. He went. After some time he came back. He said, I'm ready. Say those words back. And he took the shahada. But now he said, please, don't inform anyone of my Islam. Just wait here. There is another one who's waiting for me. There is someone else that I have to bring to you and talk to him the same way that you have talked to me. There were two leaders as we just talked about, Usayd bin Hudayr and Sa'ad bin Mu'az. Sa'ad bin Mu'az was still waiting for Usayd bin Hudayr to come with the good news that now Mus'ab bin Umair will not remain in Medina Munawwara anymore. No one will be talking about this deen in Medina anymore. Usayd went back to him and he said to Sa'ad, Sa'ad, why don't you go over there and see the situation? These people are talking about some very amazing thing. Go and talk to them. You come back and tell me what's happening there. I want you to go and experience it yourself. I don't want to tell you nothing about it. But he doesn't want to give him any hint that I'm leaning towards it or I have already accepted Islam. So Sa'ad went over there and he went in the same manner with an open arm in his hand. He said to Mus'ab, you better leave right away. And he told him the same thing. Why don't we sit? Let's talk. Let me tell you what I'm inviting people to. If you like it, it's good. If you don't like it, I'm willing to leave. And Sa'ad bin Mu'az says, okay, it's fair. Talk to me. Tell me what you're inviting people to. And he talked to him the same way, and he conveyed the message of Islam to him, and he recited a few ayahs of Al-Qur'an al-Kareem to him. He had the same question, how would I embrace Islam? As these two leaders embraced Islam, now both of them are sitting over there right in the same moment. They are sitting in front of Mus'ab bin Umair and discussing how would they bring the whole clans into Islam. And Sa'ad bin Mu'az said, as far as I'm concerned, I have decided what I'm going to do. What is it that you're planning to do? He said, I won't tell you. Just watch what I do. He went back to his clan. And just for us to remind ourselves, do you know who was Sa'ad bin Mu'az radiyallahu anhu? He's a Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Such a great Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that when he passed away, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said 70,000 angels came to carry his janazah. And the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala started shaking up because of the death of Sa'ad bin Mu'az radiyallahu anhu. This is Sa'ad bin Mu'az. And here we find that Mus'ab bin Umair has all the good deeds in his records of Sa'ad bin Mu'az also, because he was the cause for Sa'ad bin Mu'az to come into Islam. SubhanAllah. What a great business. What a great account. What a great trait. That invite these people to Islam, and those people are guaranteed Jannah doing all of that great work. And each and everything that that person would do in his life, Mus'ab bin Umair would be getting the reward for it. And not only this, look at what Sa'ad bin Mu'az did after this. He went and he gathered his clan. And he asked them, what do you think about me? He said, you're our leader and this and that. They started admiring him. He said, if you really think what you have just said, and truly you think about me the same thing, then I'm resigning. I have nothing to do with you people if you all won't take the shahada. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. When they heard it, some of them were already Muslims. Some of them were so close to him, they said, no, we won't leave our leader. Let's take the shahada. And this is how the whole clan became Muslim. And imagine, the whole clan is going into the record of Sa'ad bin Mu'az, and through him going into the record of Mus'ab bin Umair radiyallahu anhu. This is how these Sahabah ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een invited people to the deen of Allah. But let's sit and talk. Here, let me explain to you what my deen is all about. And subhanallah, you find that no one can leave that place without taking the shahada. When they see the pure message of Islam. Mus'ab bin Umair radiyallahu anhu was martyred during the battle of Uhud. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he went and he saw his body, he started weeping. As this was one of the Sahabah ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een, who was the wealthiest person from the wealthiest clan and a family in Makkah Mukarramah. And as we said that he used to dress the most expensive dress, use the most expensive perfume, was known for these things in Makkah Mukarramah. And now, for his janazah, for his kafan, they didn't even have a sheet that would cover his whole body. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam asked the Sahabah if there is any sheet to make it as his kafan. They brought a sheet to him, and it was his own sheet that he was dressing during his life. They said, Ya Rasulullah, there is nothing else that we have. And as they covered his head, the feet were open. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, put some leaves of the trees on his feet to cover his feet in the grave. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam at that time recited these ayahs of the Qur'an al-Kareem. مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ رِجَالٌ صَدَقُوا مَا عَاهَدُوا اللَّهَ عَلَيْهِ. Among the Muslims, there are people who fulfill their promise with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. صَدَقُوا مَا عَاهَدُوا اللَّهَ عَلَيْهِ. What can be a better witness for a mu'min than this? When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is saying that this person is of those who fulfilled all of their promises they made with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they achieved what they wanted. This is what they wanted, they achieved it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give all of us tawfiq to follow the steps of these great Sahabah ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with us as He was pleased with those Sahabah ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep all of us on sirat al-mustaqim. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير